Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about chord progressions and some of the easiest ways to start chord progressions and make them and even build off of those. So today's not going to be a very long video. I'm just going to kind of go over a few things with you, and hopefully you can learn something from these things. And if you do have any questions or any ideas or suggestions of videos that you would like for me to make in the future, please make sure you drop those in the comments. And without any further ado, let's get right into it. So what we're doing here, we already have a piano pulled up in the flex. It is the Steinway D piano in flex. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the piano roll here, and we're going to start there. Now, one of the things that I like to tell people all the time is have a melody. If you don't have a melody, that's okay, but it's easier to do these kind of things when you have a melody in your head already. And so I always say, kind of start out with a melody, and you don't really have to choose a key right off the bat for your melody, but it helps that you do lay that melody down, and then you can even adjust from there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down the melody that I have in my head now on just one note, and then we'll move it from there. And before I do that, I'll let you hear the melody that I have in my head. It sounds like this. Bum, 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 bum. And basically just going back around to that. And I'm not going to put too much onto this, but I am going to start with in the key of A minor. That's what I'm just going to start at. And if you know anything about the key of A minor, it is literally the same notes as the key of C major. So we're going to be using all of the white notes here. I'm not going to change the grid here because it's just going to be the same thing, except our root note, instead of being C, is actually going to be A. So we're going to start there on A. I got the tempo at 140, and I'm going to go ahead and just cut the metronome on, and then I'm going to start laying down these notes and getting them into the rhythm that I want it to be in. All right, so I see where it is now. So we go here all the way to about here. See what we get if we go here next. Maybe pull these in here. So I'm going to highlight both of these, control and drag over, click and drag over. Then I'm going to hit shift and alt, and I'm just going to grab right here in the middle of this one, and I'm going to pull it to this line here. And we get, and we want to go back again. So we go bum, bum, bum. And we should be that rhythm there. Let's see. Hit shift or alt, I'm sorry. And then let's hear what rhythm we have. Easy, right? That's just the rhythm. Now we can move these notes up or down to create chord progressions out of them, or to create chords into a chord progression. So let's do that. We're already in A minor. So in order to make an A minor chord, what we got to do is we'll take this A and we'll go C, and then we'll go E. And what I'm hearing is a down. Bum, bum, bum. So I'm thinking that this next note is just going to go down one step into the G. So we got this one going down. Bum, bum, bum. So this one's also going to go down, and I'm thinking this is going to be an F. And then we're going to just come back up with it. Bum, bum. Let's see. We'll lay this down and we're going to make this a G minor chord. So G major chord. I'm sorry. G, B, and D. Makes this a G major. Then we're going to go F, A, C to make this a F major chord. And then the same thing here with the G, B, D. We're going to make a G major again, and then back to an A minor. And let's just hear what we have now. And it goes right back into the one of the scale. And this scale, what we're doing is a 1-7-6 progression, because A is the 1. I'll go down here and I'll kind of put it down here so it doesn't confuse you. So we got A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then A is going to be back at the 1 again. So we got a 1. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So our progression, if we're going off what we have here, we got a 1, then we're going to the 7, then we're going to the 6. So what we're doing is a 1, 7, 6 progression. 1, 7, 6. And even though these are lower than the A minor chord, they're still the same number because that's the scale degree of that note in of that note in this key. Because if I was to take these up all the way up here, it's still in the same position. So A, this is the 1, 7, 6 progression. I'm gonna bring that back down. Hopefully that doesn't confuse you. If it does confuse you, just leave me a question in the comments and hopefully I can answer that question for you. But let's just keep it moving here. So what we want to do is, right now these chords sound very plain, dry, because they are triads, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we want to kind of give it a little bit more sauce, a little bit more flavor to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to shorten some of these notes or some of these chords, because in my head it was ba, bump, ba. So let's take these right here and just bring them in, and here what we get. Yeah, and I think I want to do something else right here. I think I want to bring these down. Let's say we go back to F, we hit an F again, and then we'll hit the G again. And let's see what it sounds like now. So far, all we've done is we got ourselves a rhythm and we got ourselves a chord progression, and we put those together. What can we do next to sauce this up even more? Well, something that we can do is we could add maybe 7ths or 9ths or even 11ths. So that's even more in depth of that music theory thing. And what I want to do with these is, when you do normally add a 7th, like for instance, to make this an A minor 7th, we would have to take this and put an extra one here, but that's not the 7th that I want to do. I actually want to do a different type of 7th. So what I'm going to do is, instead of putting the 7th up here and having it as the A minor 7th, I'm actually going to put an F down here. And now what this turns into is an F major 7th chord. We are still in the key of A minor, but we're just starting now. Instead of starting on the 1, we're actually starting on the 6. And that's a little confusing. That can be a little confusing, but all I'm really doing is I'm building a 7th chord. I'm putting the A minor over F. That's what you would call this in normal theory an F major 7th chord. But what I'm doing here is I'm putting an F over, or I'm sorry, I'm putting an A minor over F, and I'm gonna actually bring that down an octave. Put that lower. Same thing here with the G. We'll go ahead and put an E here. Bring it down an octave. We'll put, with this F, we'll put a D here. Bring this down an octave, and the same thing. So put this one here, and we'll put this one here. And now these chords have gone from an A minor, G major, F major to an F major, E major, and a D major. D minor, I'm sorry. But that's what's been changed to a D minor 7th chord. And let's hear what it sounds like. And this is great for R&B music. A lot of R&B music uses a lot of 7th chords, 9th chords, and even 11th chords. There's 13th, there's suspended chords, and that's more in depth. I'll make a video about those as well. What we want to do now is we want to sauce these up even more. So what we're going to do is we're going to add 5ths to these. But we're not going to think about the 5th of these notes down here. We're going to think about the 5th of these here. So what would be the 5th of an F is C. So we'll add a C here. What would be the 5th of this E? It would be this B. The 5th of this D would be this A. Same thing here. We'll put this A here. And then the 5th here is back to the B. And what you'll notice is we're only kind of moving down one step over the same, and then we're going up one step. So we're not doing too much. We're not having to do a lot of moving here, right? But what we just did is we just filled up or thickened up the chords here. And one reason this works so well is if you look right here, the C, the B, the A, and the B, if I shift these up, these are also chords that are already, or notes that are already in the chords that we're using. So they work very well together. And to me, honestly, that helps when it comes to actually learning how to play. Because if I was to play these on the piano, it's really easy because of the movement here and the notes being repeated. You see how easy it is to just play those, because we're just going up and down. We're just going down and back up, and we're only moving one step. Now, what could we do to even further these? Because it could go a lot further than this. I don't want to put too much in one video to confuse you, but some things that we can do is take these thirds here. Well, these will be considered the fifths now. But we'll take these thirds and we can move them up an octave. It's going to fill out a good portion of the spectrum here, and it's going to sound a lot fuller. And what we could do is bring the entire thing down one octave, and we get this. Now, one of my favorite things to do with with any kind of melody that I make is I like to make it sound more realistic, right? So there are a number of ways to do this. It's not the only way to do this. A lot of times people try and they'll go with the Alt-R to randomize everything, and that's going to randomize your velocities, which is perfectly fine to do that. But to me, that still sounds a little bit too robotic, right? You can also hit Alt-S to strum, and you'll get your velocities. You can have your velocities changed here as well. But once again, like I said, to me, that's just too robotic, in my opinion. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it, because hey, it's a great helper to have and it saves you a lot of time. But me personally, I like to go through these manually and do them. So that's what I'm going to do. All right, so this is what I came up with here. What I did was I just kind of strummed them out here. I'm gonna hit I'm gonna hit Control, press this scroll wheel in the middle down, and I'm gonna move my mouse up to zoom in. Normally on the playlist you can hit Alt and scroll up and it'll zoom in, but it's not the same on the playlist, or in the piano roll, because when you press Alt and scroll, you're gonna start messing with dynamics. But that is what I did here. I strummed out some of these manually, and then I just came over here and press Alt and scroll down, and I just did some volume adjustments here. And one thing to keep in mind here is that the lower notes here are all still pretty high. They're all still at the same level still, and that's because these notes are going to carry a lot of the bass, and bass notes tend to not be heard very well when they are turned down lower. So I kept those up, but this is what we sound like now. And it sounds more like somebody's playing it. It sounds like that note's being kind of eased into something like this instead of all at once, which there's nothing wrong with that, but in R&B, it sounds better to kind of bring your notes in that way. Now, something else that we can do, this is a little bit more advanced, and we're just talking about the progression here. We're not talking about any kind of melody or anything. We want to try and make these sound as live as we possibly can, right? We want these to sound thick and full. So what I want to do is I want to start adding like 13th, well, I'm sorry, 9th, 11th, and 13th, right? So if we look at our chord progression here, I'm going to go right over here, and I'm going to start, we're in A minor, so I'm going to start here on this A minor, and I'm going to put some notes down. So this is our scale again. Now, we started with the A minor, but we ended up changing that by adding that F at the bottom, or putting that F below it, and that turned it into an F major 7th chord. Now, what we want to do to kind of feel this out some more is we want to build that F major 7th chord, then we want to add a 9th to it and see what that sounds like, right? So in order to build an F major 7th chord, we're going to need this F. So I'll delete these. We're going to need the F. We're going to need an A. We're going to need a C. We're going to need an E. The E is going to be the 7th. But once we add this G, this is now the 9th. And this brings a lot of tension to the chord, because first of all, this E is going to bring a lot of tension because it's right next to the F, right, when you play it. But then you add this G in, it's also right next to the F. So if we bring these both down here, now we got a lot of tension because these chords right here are right next to each other. Let me bring these back up. Even though they're not right next to each other in the actual chord here, they still bring a lot of tension because they're next to each other in the scale. So it sounds like this. but it sounds so good. If we were to bring this ninth down and put it in with the rest of it, you could really start to hear that tension, which to me, it sounds good. Some people don't like that, but when you're trying to go for a good R&B melody or a good R&B vibe, it is good to add that tension to it. So what I want to do is I want to go and add ninths or even 11ths to some of these chords. So I know for a fact that the G is going to be a ninth here. Cut it down. Let's go ahead and take it up an octave. And the next one is this F. It's going to be a ninth here. Let's go ahead and bring it up an octave. And then we got the E, which is going to be a ninth here, and we're going to bring it up an octave. And the reason I was able to do that so fast is because, like I said earlier in the video, these notes are just going down by one step, going up by one step. So if the F, if this is the G, if this G is the ninth for this F, then just going down the scale, that makes this F the ninth for this G. And you can also see that G, F in alphabetical order is A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Same thing with the E here, the E chord, A, B, C, D, E, F, which is going to make your ninth chord. So that's why that's so easy to come by. Once you start to do this more often, once you start to work with more chords and things like that, it does become easier. I promise you, I've been doing this for quite a while now, but it becomes easier. I've been doing music for almost my whole life. But there's one point in time when all this stuff was kind of hard for me. Some people it comes natural to, some people it doesn't. And that's because music theory isn't the easiest thing to learn. I do encourage you to try and learn music theory because it does help. Now, do you need music theory? I wouldn't say necessarily, but it helps to have it. And as you do learn these things, you kind of do start to learn music theory. They say, well, we don't use music theory when we make our beats. You do. You just don't know you're using music theory. You just don't know the theory behind what you're doing. But that is okay. Just as long as you try and learn. And once again, we're going to add our ninth, bring it up an octave, and then we're going to add our ninth here and bring it up an octave. Now, this may sound good, it may not sound good, but there's only one way to find out. To me, that does sound good. The only problem is these notes are a little too loud. So let's bring some of them down here. So we'll alt scroll down on that. I think this was the chord that was, let's say it was this E here. Bring it down. Go ahead and bring this F down some. And then we're going to bring this G down some. We don't want these to have too much volume because it does bring attention, but it also might sound dissonant. And to take these even a step further, what we can do is kind of make a little melody out of it. So I'm going to take my cut tool here, and I'm just going to start cutting up some of these notes here that are in the chord. So like this one here, maybe here, here, and here, and see what we get. Well, not there. Here, here, and here. Let's see what this sounds like. Yeah. But what if we did, let's say P, let's go ahead and put this back together, drag this out, and let's try and cut it maybe about here and see what we get. Yeah. And we're just cutting up some of the notes that are already there. Same thing here. Let's cut up some of these here. Cut the F here. Maybe a little different on this one. Something like this. Kind of drag it out a little longer. Or a few more of them, should I say. So we put one here. Put another one here. And the same one. And cut this one up. And let's see what we get. Maybe not that. Let's see. You got to change some of the velocities on some of these when you do that, though. You do want to make sure you are looking at your velocities. Where did I cut this at? I cut this here. Let's cut this one again. So we'll go here, and we'll cut this one more time. So something like this. Yeah. Now, what we'll do is we'll take these chords that we cut up, and we'll actually bring them up an octave. or these notes. I'm sorry, not chords. I'm gonna leave that one there and bring those up. And maybe even do the same thing again right here with this note, with this chord. So we'll go to G. Let's see. I want to say it was here, here, because these notes are a little shorter, so they might not be the same. Yeah, that's good. And then just kind of cut this up a little bit on this note. And then let's just take this one up an octave. And what we'll do is we'll probably bring this one back down an octave. And now you got like a very easy, simple melody that you made with these chords. You got a lot of ninth chords. You got full chords. There's thick chords. And you can go even further with this by adding more passing chords just to get back to the 1 or the 7th in this case. No, not 7th, the 6th in this case. But there's just so many other avenues that you could take with this. I just wanted to make this video to show you how you can actually get started. And in my next video, I'll go ahead and break down even more melody sauce and more chord progression sauce for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you like videos like these, go ahead and leave a like. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And I will see you in the next video.